Welcome to Wellin on Wednesdays. Wow. It's so hard to believe that we are now approaching the end of our time together at the well. We've had a fantastic time all through January with our Sunday gatherings and our two other wows. The first one really explored kind of creativity in home through charcuterie, and it was so delicious. Our second one explored creativity in home through interior design and decorating, and how we can just really be at home and abide and take what we have and just kind of rethink our spaces and make it even more beautiful. And today, we're just really excited because here it is. It's just kind of like, baby, it's cold outside and it's dreary and it's raining and all of us are at home and probably looking outside and just wishing spring would hurry up and come. But it's not here yet. But this whole notion of abide and how can we welcome people into our homes with God's creation. So we are going to explore that a little bit right now about how we can take what's outside and bring it into our homes and create a welcoming front door and just that whole sense of hospitality. I'm Irene Tyson and just very excited to be here with two of my very dear friends who are so talented. First, we have Sabrina Barr. And Sabrina is just a whiz at taking planners and then turning them into such beautiful expressions of home and welcoming and hospitality, and cannot wait to see what you do with us. And then Carla Graf is going to show us how you can just take what's in your yard or simple flowers and create just wonderful floral arrangements for your table. I do have to tell y'all, growing up, my mama has a green thumb, and so she was always did beautiful planters, and we always had great greenery around home and flowers. But when I came home with my very first time from college, I was a freshman at Mississippi State, and I came home for the weekend, and I could not wait. And my mama probably did this all the time, but this time it was for me. But she had done this beautiful planter by the front door to welcome me home. Well, this back door. Everybody goes in through the kitchen door now. And then when I go upstairs into my bedroom, and she had put together the sweetest little vase of flowers on my bedside table, and then had one in my bathroom. And so to me, nothing says welcome home and gives that sense of hospitality than flowers and plants. And so and again, as dreary as it is right now, cold and everything, how we can just take all this beautiful creation that God has given us and create a sense of welcome and hospitality in our homes. So y'all ready to get started?
We're ready.
All right, so we're very excited. So what we're going to do is start first with Sabrina. So you may have a couple of friends coming over for dinner. You might have children coming over home from college, or you just want to kind of spruce up your front door because, we've just taken down all the Christmas lights and all the garlands and everything like that. It might be looking a little drab. So let's take people into front door, back door, whichever one. So Sabrina, what can we do with what we've got? Yes.
Okay. So we are blessed with greenery, and I think plants make people happy, inside, outside. I think nothing more makes you depressed than looking out on your patio and seeing a pot that everything in it's dead. So I always try to take those. I have a lot of containers on my patio, and I try to take those, and the ones that are empty and look dead this time of year, take them away. Go put them behind the house and group together maybe 2 or 3. I'm a big believer in putting some evergreens in your containers, boxwoods, coral bells, autumn fern.
Coral bells?
That's coral bells, and this will winter over. This is doing really well in some containers. Do a solid container this summer of autumn fern and a boxwood, and then let your third container have a plethora of stuff. Let it be your tulips and everything that's coming, out. But again, autumn fern and coral bells are beautiful together. You can go take a container that's scraggly and run to the plant store on the corner and buy a few plants and stick it around. So if your front porch looks anything like mine right now, Christmas is over, we've cleaned everything out, it's kind of sad. This is the urns I have on my porch. You can, if it was full of dirt right now, I would still leave it like that. Or you can get buckets, throw it in there, and then you start going out and gathering. And start with magnolia because it gives you bulk and height. And go out in the yard. Tea olive is fabulous.
Sabrina, hold that up and show a tea olive.
Tea olive.
Always, yeah.
And I will say, y'all, I love to plant evergreens in my containers. I mean, a tea olive in these containers is beautiful, and you underplant it in the spring with whatever's coming next. And then you've got a base for the year round, and you don't have to look at the other tea olive. Tea olive. Then I was kind of thinking that since Valentine's was coming up and you wanted something in front, you could cut some camellias and give it a little color. So we're going to take this container.
All right, so I have to tell you, so this has been on my deck this summer. It was beautiful and overflowing. This had beautiful kind of fuchsia colored flowers and had trailing stuff and everything in, but this is kind of what it looks like now. So is there any hope?
There's hope
for this. Okay. Okay.
I'm a firm believer, and you got to rip the Band-Aid off sometimes. Okay. You just got to cut something back. So we're going to kind of trim this all up. I know it's a bad haircut, but we're going to do this. Funny story. John cut our azaleas when we first got married, and he cut them down, and there was nothing but stalk. He called his 100-year-old grandmother. I cried for days. They came back beautiful. So don't be afraid to cut stuff back in your planters because that could come back up. Even if you had herbs in there and they look bad, cut them down, and then they'll start coming back.
So, Sabrina, is it okay to even cut stuff back right now? I mean, just
February is a really good month.
It is a good month?
Everything's good. Things good, dormant. So then start cutting. Then start stuffing. Go to the yard. Use your dirt like you would Oasis. I'm going to get to in a little while. And start stuffing magnolia.
All right, I never would have thought about doing this.
And just kind of start. I'm a firm believer that the first impression someone has of your home is when they walk up to that porch. And my grandmother always says, you can tell a lot about a person from the front porch. So just throw greenery in there. Don't ignore the outside. You've worked really hard on the inside, so make it pretty while people are standing there waiting on you to answer the door.
I mean, this is taking my Charlie Brown little plant thing and just totally transforming it.
And just stuffing it. I know it's hard to see when I'm doing it.
So where should I put this one? Do you want to put that one in there?
Stuffing. And you can get as big as you want to. This could be, dramatic.
Okay, this is amazing.
Just keep going. Just keep adding. Now I'll say, no, it's not very pretty. We're not doing that one. So throw some more in there and big stuff. And come back with like Nandina, which is so pretty. My mama's favorite. This is really pretty Christmas to use too. But just put it on the edge and make it look like a plant's growing out. Just stuff it in there. This will last weeks in this dirt, y'all, or in a bucket of water. So just keep stuffing. Wow. Cuba is great to use. And personally, I try to do this all during the winter until things start coming out and you really do start planting. Again, take away the planters you don't want to look at anymore and do a grouping of solids and pull them together. Again, you could take this and you could buy a plant and stick it in there. Just kind of tucking. Let him look pretty. It's hard to work backwards, but I'm trying. You can also, pansies. Yesterday I went out to our little Forest Lake Gardens and got that. Take that out, tear it apart, and start stuffing it in the bottom of a planter when people are coming over. And just add some color and some fun.
So, Sabrina, I have to ask you. So those two right there have been sitting by my door to be planted since autumn, and you see where they are now. So, right. Is there even hope for?
Absolutely, I would throw them in the edge of the containers.
Okay,
and you could tuck them. You can go get plants at the store and just kind of keep tucking them in. Well, he's not going to sit because I've overstuffed.
Okay, yeah, but that is just beautiful.
Again, the bucket. Put a bucket of water. Start stuffing it with magnolia, and it just looks really pretty. Just like Ruthie's back there, you can keep adding to them as the season goes on.
So what I love about this is that you have taken out of your yard. Mm-hmm. This didn't cost you a penny. You've taken it out there, and again, it's like God has given us this beautiful earth, and we've taken it and we're just arranging it differently and just creating. I mean, I cannot believe that there's my little plant right there. but this is such a wonderful way. I don't have to go out and buy all kinds of stuff, but this will completely transform.
And it does. I will say it saves a lot of money too if you like a lot of containers. Yeah. Invest in one boxwood and leave that one and underplant it, and don't feel like every year, because you're reinventing the wheel each season, you're wanting to go put mums in it for fall, but you could just let your one container be the one you change out. And then use this and just put them all in a corner.
And this boxwood is year-round, right? I mean, just keep it full sun. Is that what
it'll do anything.
Anywhere? Just kind of keep it there?
It'll do, it'll kind of, probably shade inside.
Yeah.
So.
All right. That's just amazing.
Well, it's fun.
It is. It is just wonderful. So, and and Sabrina does a great job with this with her business called the Creeping Fig, and it's just I can see why you're doing this and why because it's so successful. So, thank you. All right. Okay. So now we have welcomed people at our front door with our lovely planters, and they're just beautiful and lush. And now we're going inside. And so Carla is going to show us how we can just use, again, what we have at home, maybe pick up a couple of simple flowers someplace else and put them together to create another beautiful way of welcoming people in hospitality. So Carla, what have you got for us here?
Perfect. Well, Sabrina did such a great job, like Irene said, with the outside. So now we're bringing it in. And believe it or not, we can use a lot of the same greenery, y'all, for our inside. We like... there's nothing prettier than just a vase of greens, especially a mixture. So you'll notice on this table, and I'm sure y'all are all thinking, what's in my yard? What can I get? And so I'll share a few things. Pittosporum is something we love to use. A Cuba. This is fun. This is great. This is Pittosporum.
I love the colors and the texture.
Yeah, this is a variegated Pittosporum. And then it also comes in like a deep, pretty green. Like Sabrina showed earlier, the autumn fern, this is great. This, my friends, is sword fern, and I love using sword fern. And the nice thing about sword fern is, you might just have a fern in a pot and that's what this is. I just cut some out of the pot. So we'll play with those. Nandina. So and like Irene brought some rosemary. Herbs are wonderful to put in plantings and in vases. So, and again, tea olive. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do just a vase of pretty greens, and I'll show you that. And then I'll show you how you can find some color in your yard for different seasons. It just depends. Or that ever faithful Trader Joe's, like you heard on the charcuterie one. What would we do without Trader Joe's? So I'm just going to get started, and I'm just going to put some in. So the good thing about, so I'm going to do just a cylinder. The nice thing is, you're like, Carla, I don't have just a cylinder in my pantry. That's fine. I'm sure you have something in your home that will work. I've got a little jelly jar here, a little mason jar. Anything you have works. And I want to challenge you to think outside the box, because sometimes we think it's got to be a vase, but it doesn't. And I'm gonna show you a couple of alternatives in just a little while. So anyway, the important thing to know is you want to put your water in. And you want to do your cutting, do your clipping. If you are doing something for a table, you don't want it to be, a good rule of thumb is you don't want it to be higher than your fingertips. So, because you want your guests to be able to see over. You don't want anybody to have to
times where you're like, yo.
Yeah. Or either do it in a really tall vase so that the flowers are, and you've used like some really tall pieces. And so anyway, I'm just going to start.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
When you're cutting your greenery, do you like to cut it at an angle or flat, or does that matter?
Well, I do like to try to cut it, especially my flowers at an angle.
Okay. Great.
Yes, and then also another thing that you want to keep in mind is that you want to cut your greenery. You want to cut the leaves so that they are not submerged. So pull them off, cut them off, whatever you need to do. But you don't want your greenery in the water, because it can contaminate your water and cause fungus, and then your flowers and your greenery will turn yucky a lot quicker. So I'm just going to do, so this is just kind of a different little greenery. This is some fern you brought. I'm trying to think what type of fern this is. Holly fern, thank you. Yes, and holly fern, like Sabrina said, it winters over very well. So we're just going to I'm going to throw some herbs in here. And y'all, the beautiful thing about this time of year are the camellias. And if you are lucky to have camellias in your yard, there is nothing prettier. But think about in other times of the year, if you don't have camellias, you can think about, you might have forsythia, or you might have, you can do pansies right now. I'm going to add some, so you can see some of this is kind of dense and kind of heavy. By adding this, Nandina, it kind of lightens things and adds like a little lacy effect.
I even like, just seeing the stems through the water too. It's kind of structural and sculptural in a way.
Yes,
so
it is.
Cool.
It is. So there's all sorts of, I challenge you just to go out and see God's beautiful creation, because some of you may have never looked in your yard and have no idea what plants you have in your yard. We just recently moved, and I left tons of beautiful camellias, and I was so sad about that. But y'all, I've always wanted a loquat, and I've always wanted a Cuba, and guess what? My new house has both of those, and so that's right. Another pretty piece that I love to use that has a really unique look to it is Iliagnus. What a funny name, right? But Iliagnus is everywhere. And it's real pretty because it's green on the front and it has a little silvery look on the back. And so it's really, it's just unique in its own way. So love to use that in things as well.
You know what I do sometimes with my Iliagnus, because I let it get, get so tall and spiky. So a lot of times I like to cut that and bend it.
Yes.
And stick it down so it can give some height just a little bit.
Yes. And Iliagnus makes beautiful, you can make beautiful garlands with Iliagnus too, and add to it. So just another little thought. But anyway, so hopefully y'all are seeing the picture. You just, anything, but, and I've got so much on this table right now, but anything, it just, and I'm kind of just sticking, right? Like Sabrina, there's not much to, there is stuff to arrange in flowers, but when you're doing it like this, like she said, just stick it. And just look how pretty that is. Now, we're going to take it a step farther, and we're going to add some color to it. So it's so pretty, just green. That just makes me happy.
That could just brighten up right now, like particularly on a dreary day like this. Just the greenery.
And Irene, I love your story because it reminds me of my mom as well, and she did the same thing. So I think when you are used to growing up with flowers, it brings a lot of joy to your heart. And so I have done the same thing for my daughter, for Nancy Welch. And so I love a posy by my bed. I love one in my bathroom. And like Irene said, nothing sells hospitality more than fresh flowers. So, all right, so now I'm going to pop some pretty color. Look at these beautiful camellias. Look at God's creation. There is just nothing prettier. So you can just start to pop these in. And there's nothing prettier than just a vase full of camellias, I, like we just talked about, a little posy. I'm going to put some. Oh, perfect. Here's a long. Great. He might need a little trim.
Get a little trimming on there.
They do get kind of heavy. And y'all, another thing about camellias that's beautiful, you can float them in a pretty little dish of water, and you can just float the blossoms, and that is gorgeous as well. So here we have, I've just added some pretty little color to it.
Gorgeous.
And of course, we can add more. And now I'm going to take these camellias out, and I'm going to show how you can just go to our favorite little Trader Joe's, or, there's lots of other places that sell great flowers
take all these out?
as well.
Okay.
And so I've got, and this also will serve, so $5.99 at the Trader Joe's. So also, this is good for when you have, if you have hydrangeas in your yard. So a good rule of thumb is when you see your flowers, obviously, how do I know where to cut it? So you can kind of hold it up if you're challenged as to trying to figure out, and it's okay. You always want to maybe, cut too long, and then you can cut. You don't want to ever cut too short, because sometimes that might make a difference in your. And so then you can just tuck these beautiful hydrangeas in, and especially when we have hydrangeas blooming in our yards.
And you always want to put the greenery in first. Is that right?
Yeah,
and then the flowers.
I like to do that because then you've got a good little base. And then and so then sometimes you might want to come back in and add some more greenery. I've also got some stock here. This is just some little white stock. So, but you can just keep it with just the hydrangeas.
And now it's starting to be totally bridal now. Yeah, it's kind of like Thanksgiving. I mean, Valentine's in a way, and then now bridal or just whatever. I mean, just beautiful.
And anything else you might have in your yard, so you can see how it looks totally. You can make something look totally different just by a quick little change of adding a flower or two. So let me see. I might get another little piece of fern. So anyway,
beautiful.
And so then you've got a little something that looks totally different. So, like Irene said earlier, nothing says welcome and we're glad you're here than a little posy by your bedside table or in your bathroom. Or, sometimes it's nice just to have something sitting on a little end table in your den. And you don't need to do a big something like you would put on a table. And so little vases like this, again, little jelly jars, I'm sure you have lots of things in your home.
Yeah, and like I love to pull out my julep cups. Got to polish them a little bit sometimes, but to me, I just like to put a little greenery, like even some camellias in them like that.
Great.
Yeah.
So perfect vase.
Yeah.
And so, just... Again, it can be all greenery. It can be something you have growing in your yard. Don't stress. Don't think, oh my gosh, I've got to go buy all these different flowers. I mean, you don't, y'all, because to me, God's creation, just going out and seeing what you have and just finding that, it's happy.
And one of our journal prompts for the well is go out into God's creation and just see what's there, and to write about it. I mean, and what better way to do that?
So
look at that. That's so beautiful.
Just a little.
Yeah.
And I also, just like Irene said, I brought up other things just to show you. So I used, I think this came with some paper wipes or something in it from Trader Joe's. And so I repurposed. I took out the stuff that was dead. It even comes with a liner, y'all. So this is great. I used this at Easter, and I got a piece of Oasis. And for those of you who might be like, what is Oasis? I'm sorry I did not bring it, but it's just a green block, and it retains water. It holds water. But at the same time, you could just fill this with dirt, like Sabrina said. I mean, it doesn't have to be Oasis. But the flowers sometimes, they need a water source. So I soaked my Oasis and I put it in here, and I just filled it full of greenery. Again, could be dirt. Filled it full of greenery at Easter, and then I got azaleas out of the yard, and I put azaleas in there, and I made a little living garden. I put 2 sticks and made a little cross, and that was my living garden on my table for Easter. So it's super simple. Didn't cost me a penny. I mean, this was repurposed from Trader Joe's from something previous. And then I brought this because, I mean, I'm sure you're like, Carla, why are we doing cake? I thought, why are you talking about cake? I thought we were talking about flowers. But this was a nice little wedding gift, and I love using things that not necessarily, who would think about putting flowers on this? But I took another block of Oasis, and I taped it on here. And I had some beautiful oak leaf hydrangeas at my old house. And so they usually bloom in and around June. And so I went out and cut those. And if you know those, they're kind of big and flowy. And so I was able to get a few to stand up, but then they were kind of draping over. And so I had this on my dining room table. And I didn't have any occasion for that. But I just enjoyed it. And so, you don't need an occasion for flowers. They just bring us such joy. So I just challenge you to look around your home and find something that brings you happiness and see what you can do, and go out in your yard and cut, because I can assure you it will be life-changing.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I tell you, when you were bringing up the oak leaf hydrangeas,
Yeah.
I think they're some of the most beautiful plants in the fall.
Oh,
When those leaves are so
Yes.
big and they turn that deep kind of purpley reddish orange. And so I've gotten times where I will get them and I'll use them almost as placemats.
Oh,
Oh,
pretty.
yeah.
I'll have my
I
cloth
love that.
placemat and put it down because they're big and provide the color. I mean,
Oh, that's gorgeous.
so
God's
it's
creation. He's given us
I mean,
the coloring for each season.
every season.
He gives you your
Yeah.
things out there to use, and the color scheme and everything's there for us.
Yeah, and we just have to kind of open our eyes and get out there and just take advantage of it. And I know y'all are like me. Every time I walk out there, I'm so thankful
Yes.
for my little bit of dirt or my neighbors. I don't know if y'all probably do the same thing, but also in a small town, if my mama didn't have it, she was going to somebody else's yard. So
That's what I did yesterday.
and that's what we do. I mean, that's just a wonderful thing to do.
Yes.
So, well, I can't thank y'all enough. I mean, you're so talented, and just you've helped me see my yard differently. You've helped me see my sad little planters so differently, and what I can do with all these vases. I mean, just open my eyes, and so. You know, this is all about welcoming. This is about hospitality and using God's creation. So I want to thank all of y'all for joining us for this, and please join us this Sunday. It's going to be our last gathering for the Well at home, and we have a really special treat in store for us with Kathy Jameson and Julie Songer-Bellman. So thank you, and thank you, Sabrina and Carla.
Thank
So
y'all.
this is great. We enjoyed
It's
it.
been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, y'all, even though the day was cold and rainy and dreary, I just loved how Carla and Sabrina just brought so much sunshine and beauty into the day. And what I kind of thought of, a couple of things, is they were both showing us how we could just take whatever was in our yard and make something beautiful out of it. One of them is just that old saying that people hear all the time, bloom where you're planted. And that's what God asks us to do all the time. He puts us in a place. He's given us this beautiful creation, and when we want to bring in a little beauty and make our home welcoming, all we have to do is just walk outside. And we've got plenty that's right there at our fingertips. Grab a mason jar, grab some old vase, just grab a glass, create a beautiful floral arrangement. And Carla made it look so easy, and I think it is. And then also, as Sabrina showed us with my old tired plant, sometimes we just need a good pruning. And it's like that in our lives too. We just get tired and ragged, and we're just not blooming like we need to. And so we need to do that good pruning so that we can come back more fully and more beautifully. So I just thoroughly enjoyed seeing how we could take a little bit of God's creation and make our homes more welcoming, add a touch of hospitality, and bring in some beauty. So thank you so much for joining us for this wow.